My name is Jordan Dorsey. I graduated Horace Greeley class 2015.
Hi, my name is Annabelle. I graduated from Greeley in the class of 2019.
My name's Chirag Kumar. I graduated from Horace Greeley in 2019.
I graduated Greeley in 2018.
I was in the class of 2016 at Greeley.
I graduated Greeley in 2018.
2019.
2016.
I graduated from Horace Greeley in June 1987.
Hard R Fridays. As the name suggests, this was a trend wherein white students allowed and encouraged their friends to greet them with the N-word. On Fridays, I heard this greeting in the locker rooms, cafeteria, and occasionally in classrooms. They only did this on Fridays, though, due to some twisted respect for the black community.
I remember seeing the word nigger carved into lunch benches and bathroom stalls.
One of my white English teachers willingly said the N-word while reading a book out loud in class.
At the time, it was common for students to change their names on Facebook to some sort of pun during the fall of senior year in the hopes that this would prevent the colleges to which we were applying from finding our personal social media accounts. I went ahead and changed my name to a pun that used my name to represent the N-word, based on the title of a popular rap song. One black student reached out to tell me that she felt that this name was offensive, and I completely dismissed her. If I was referring to a line from a song, I couldn't be racist.
One of my peers actually ended up calling me the N-word at lunch. The assistant principal was actually in the cafeteria at the time. I stood on the table and I basically was just like, yeah, this kid just called me the N-word. He told me to get off the table. Nobody got in trouble. I wasn't asked what happened.
I got suspended and she got nothing.
It was like it didn't even happen.
And she was literally saying ching chong.
Chink, ugly, bitch.
The perpetrator is of 9/11.
That my face was as flat as paper.
Nazi and terrorist.
Don't sit there, that's an Asian invasion.
Kids slanting their eyes.
The color of poop.
They'd be terrorists.
Wow, your mom totally has an accent.
I was in the 5th grade at Bell, and I was talking with a couple of my classmates. They were joking about how they had black housekeepers and using the N-word while doing so.
I was called into the principal's office because I was, quote, the only dark-looking figure in the school.
No one was punished, and it was back to my gray existence.
I know many will think they were just kids. They didn't know better. But I was just a kid too.
Those words mean, to me, that my efforts, my story, was not worth it. My life was a joke.
No action was taken against the teacher.
The girl who bullied my best friend had nothing done to her.
I became the chief consultant for the Africa unit in my global history class.
When my global teacher taught about Africa, she said, while the Europeans were busy imperializing Africa, the Africans were running around, hiding behind bushes.
The teacher would always ask me questions in front of the class about Chinese culture, Chinese plants.
Always asking me to read passages in Chinese, despite the fact that I'm not Chinese at all.
This story is not very accurate. Where is the talk about poverty and the wars happening in India? Why aren't these in your essay?
Getting asked what caste they were because they appeared to be of Indian descent. I was half Indian, and for some reason teachers thought it was okay to ask me about Hinduism, even though I'm Jewish.
They look like me, so I had to know.
I watched a teacher laugh during a class discussion on slave rape, the first time that I had read a book by a black author.
I watched as our theater department chose to perform Once on This Island, known as a Caribbean adaptation of The Little Mermaid. Staring up at the Greeley stage, I saw a whitewashed cast who I'm sure had many other musicals that they could have performed instead.
It also meant watching my black friends and friends of color get cast in either stereotypical roles or given direction that turned a white role more sassy, more exotic, more ethnic.
When the cast list came out, finally, I learned that I was cast in a role that was written for a black woman originally. It was an unfortunate norm of high school theater. Roles written for people of color are slightly tweaked for a white actor, or even worse, entire productions meant for people of color are performed by an almost entirely all-white cast.
When we were asked to read a story about Harriet Tubman out loud, a boy next to me told the class that I, a South Asian girl, should be the one to voice Harriet, because as he said, I was the darkest one in the room.
How I hated learning about Black history some days. To have a whole class turn around and look at you every time the word nigger was said or a graphic scene shown. I remember those stares so vividly, like I was Harriet Tubman herself.
I could count the number of black kids in my grade on one hand. My classmates would either ask to touch my hair, or they'd reach their hands out without a word and touch it.
I can remember several instances in high school where I asked to touch the hair of one of my black friends. In my head at the time, I wanted to play with everyone's hair and had a fascination with hair and its association with femininity and beauty. I was engaging with centuries of demeaning and fetishizing black women.
These women consistently objectified and romanticized black people in extremely disturbing ways.
Everyone wants to be the black kid's friend. I had all of these people pushing their idea of what black was on me, and I knew that that's not what it was. Asking if I like fried chicken, is my dad in jail, Kool-Aid.
My dad was picking up my soccer uniform from a Chappaqua teammate's house. My teammate's mother ran outside and started cursing at my dad for stealing. One day, he approached my friend's mom in the Walgreens parking lot, and she ran inside and asked the cashier to call the police.
I remember in 9th grade going to this Model UN conference for the day, and at the end of the day, there was a pizza party for all the Greeley students. And all of a sudden, I feel a hand grabbing the pizza out of my mouth, and a teacher who was an advisor for the club goes, "This pizza is only for Greeley students."
I was in the honors math track and was dating a white classmate. His family was pretty well connected and involved in the school district. They were also friends with another family, whose daughter was in our grade as well. I thought the girl had a crush on my boyfriend, so I jokingly teased him about it. He then told me that he knew the girl had a crush on him because her mother had mentioned it to his own mom, and he sent me the email thread between them. Quote, "My daughter sings his praises," it read. "But I heard he only dates girls in Asian math. Just saying." Whiteness is a prerequisite to being more than a stereotype. Even parents typecasted me as the Asian girl who could do math.
I remember hearing variations of, "You're not like actually black though. I'm talking about real black people.
You're Muslim, but you're one of the good ones.
The whitest black
You're the whitest black kid I know."
And having to take that as, I guess, a compliment.
It starts at home.
I made an effort to point out that someone who looks like me wouldn't necessarily be expected to be the representative for the type of class we have. I remember after that speech, someone told me that I'm also glad that you didn't mention explicitly that you're Muslim, because you probably would have lost votes. And I remember having to hear that and think, maybe you're right about that, and maybe that's the problem.
And yes, I am angry, because my 4 years at Greeley, I was made to feel insignificant as a Palestine Arab.
There's room for mistakes, but not a lifetime of error. The change starts with realizing how many people have benefited from a system that has simultaneously brought down so many others. The change starts with wanting to change.
But if my story can change Chappaqua, I want it to be heard.
It's not only about condemning the explicit and flagrant and just flat out blatant attacks on our community. It's about the daily implicit racism, right? The friend groups that don't feature a person of color and how no one notices, the history curriculums, the moments in which town residents are blocking projects in which lower residents are being introduced to the town.
More and more people are sharing their stories of times they've experienced racism at Greeley and had it brushed under the rug. This has gone on for way too long, and it is appalling.
I think it's something that's not only a problem that exists in some of these videos that we saw, but it's a daily struggle. And I hope that sharing my story could help highlight that.